Hello, everyone. So we're still going on with the Freelancers Summit 2023, and it's been amazing so far. Our topic or theme this year is freelancing, entrepreneurship, and beyond. And I'm super excited to have a mentor, a brother who has guided us through the years, and who's still super helpful in helping us building what we're building. His name is Wayne Kimball Jr. and I'll let him, introduce himself and get into, the topic for the day, which is building high performance teams, strategies for attracting and retaining top talent in a startup. Wayne, welcome.
Thank you so much, Tangai. And hello to everyone. I'm so excited to be back here for another year of the Freelancers Summit. Tangai and the entire AfterBlocks team, you all always do a fantastic job bringing together the very best of startups, entrepreneurs, and freelancers from candidly all around the world, but more specifically from the continent of Africa. And I couldn't be more delighted to be with you here today. As Tangai said, I really wanted to talk about how to ensure startup success and sustainability. But before I do that, let me introduce myself. So my name is Wayne Kimball Jr., and I have the pleasure of serving as the principal for go-to-market strategy, mergers, acquisitions, and strategic investments for Google Cloud. And in that role, I have the distinct pleasure of not only really driving the inorganic growth strategy and integration planning for all of the acquisitions in Google Cloud, but I also have the privilege of working with so many startups to ensure that they are not only successful, but to also make sure that they have an opportunity to get partnerships, opportunities, as well as investment opportunities with our organization. I have the distinct honor of serving on the advisory council, as well as the selection committee for Google for Startups Black Founders Fund, as well as the Latino Founders Fund. This is my second time at Google. I absolutely love the tech world, and I also really enjoy working with founders to ensure that they have the resources, the funding, but also the mentorship that they need in their growth journeys. So I'm here to help you, and I hope that you find what I'm going to share with you today to be beneficial and useful. Finally, I'm also an angel investor as well as a startup advisor myself. So I spend a lot of time in the startup ecosystem with both VCs, startups, board members, all of the like, and that gives me a lot of joy. So today we're going to talk about the 5-star method to being a successful and sustainable startup. Now, you heard Tangai mention that, we're going to talk a little bit about how to build strong teams. We're going to talk about how to have a really robust go-to-market strategy. But I wanted to add a few other things in there as well. And that's why I call it the 5-star method to success and sustainability for startups. Number one, when I'm looking to make an investment or when I'm working with a startup, I want the founder to be absolutely obsessed with the problem that they're trying to solve. Now, I know that that can be very easily said, and every person or founder says that they do that. But let's take a moment to think about that. When I say obsessed with the problem, I want to see a founder who has spent so much time digging in to understand the problem, to really be able to articulate that problem statement, who has taken the time to get to know the customers, really understanding, does their problem truly exist? Do they really have a solution that can solve the problem? Would people even care enough to pay for it? These are questions that I want you thinking about and asking yourself as you launch and continue to build your startup. It's really important to take the time to do the customer discovery and to be creative in your thinking. Now, when I say be creative in your thinking, it's really important to know that there are two types of creative thinking. One is expansive and the other is reductive. Well, you might be asking, what does that mean? When we say expansive, it's basically asking the question of what could I do? the art of the possible. What are all of the different ways that I could solve this problem that I have learned from my customer base or my potential customer base? The customer discovery is so important. In that expansive creative thinking, you're basically vetting out the various options. In the other type of creative thinking, reductive thinking, that's where you ask not what could I do, but what will I do? That's where decisions are made. So it's great to have options, but you have to get to a point where you make decisions as a founder, as a freelancer, as an entrepreneur in such ways where you are truly obsessing over the problem. But it's not just about obsessing on the problem. It's also really important that as you start building your business, you obsess over your customer, because then that still goes back to obsessing on the problem. Because once you have a strong problem statement and you're building a business or you're offering a service that is helping solve that problem, you also want to make sure that you have really, really, really great customer success. Love on the customers, understand how they're enjoying your product, asking them how they can help you continue to build your product. Because oftentimes, some of our best ideas, some of our best iterations on our products, on our startups, on our services come from the people that are using it or the people that are buying it. That's one way that you know that you will have sustainability, is if you have customers constantly coming back saying, hey, your product, your service, your startup adds value to me. Oh, but it would add even more value if you did A, B, or C, or if you focused on X, Y, or Z. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you will always do everything that they say. That's where the expansive part comes in, because you're focusing on all the options. When they're providing feedback, they're helping create options. But then the hard part comes when you have to do reductive thinking and really, really focus on making decisions around what is best for your business and how you want to continue to grow. So again, point number one in this 5-star method to startup success and sustainability is be obsessed with the problem statement and the problem that you're trying to solve. And also be obsessed with your customers. Point number two is dominate your niche. Now, oftentimes in the startup world, there are so many people, particularly investors, that will tell you, no, we want you to think big. And that has now created a mindset among founders that they are just focusing on the TAM. Oh, the problem I'm trying to solve is $325 billion opportunity. Oh, my TAM is 222 billion. Well, all of that's great, but I always encourage people to figure out your niche and dominate it. When I say that, I mean, figure out what you're really good at. It goes back to obsessing on that problem statement. Figure out what you're really good at and then double down on it. Once you have really dominated that space, you will then be able to expand into other spaces. Now, let's talk about that for just a moment. When you figure out your niche and you double down on it, it means that you are not limiting yourself per se, but it does mean that you are focusing on what you do well. Let's be honest. If we were to use the example of a burger spot, no matter where you go in the world, no matter what burger you like, the truth of the matter is that there are a bunch of burger spots, there are a bunch of pizza spots, there are a bunch of ice cream spots, right? Well, if McDonald's is sitting next to KFC or sitting next to Burger King or sitting next to Wendy's, well, all of them have burgers and fries. The question then becomes not necessarily, how do I outpace the other? Well, of course, competitive nature is good, particularly in business. But you want to focus on what you do well. It's clearly obvious that McDonald's, Burger King, and Wendy's can all exist and survive and make a lot of money whilst also competing with each other. That's what I mean by own your niche. Because when you go to one Their focus is on customer service. Another one, their brand is their French fries. Another one, their brand is, their burger and how they put the lettuce together and different things like that. So my point is, own your niche, and whatever makes you different, double down on it. The truth of the matter is, it's going to make you unique. It's also going to give you, competitive advantage, but it is what will help take you to the next level. Now, let me give you another example. One of the companies that I serve on the board of, we have been having conversations actually with some of our competitors, because we're in conversations about, do we want to go on an M&A journey, or do they want to possibly acquire us? Well, there's nothing better than when you get into a conversation and there's instant synergy instead of competitive nature, because even if we don't talk about mergers and acquisitions conversations, we can always talk about how to partner. And that means it's good for both sides. Now, in this example where the board I serve on, this particular company is super duper focused on the enterprise customer segment. So customers that have 5,000 plus employees. Whereas the company that was on the other side of the table that we were talking to, they're not good at enterprise segment at all. As a matter of fact, they have grown so fast because of their hyper focus on the SMB and small business market. My point is that both companies are highly successful, growing fast, continuing to get more investment and scaling rapidly. But guess what? They're focused on two different things in the exact same industry. Now we're talking about, okay, well, how can we continue to get more into the SMB world? The other companies figuring out how they can get more into the enterprise segment. Again, those things are really, really important as you begin to navigate and as you grow. The final thing I wanted to say here is, as you focus on dominating your niche, you absolutely have to know your business. When I say know your business, I mean, you need to know every number, every metric, because that is what is going to help you to be different and to defend yourself when the competitive nature ramps up, but also when people are constantly giving you feedback. That feedback is great, but it can also be distracting. So if you know your business better than anyone else, then you will be able to really say, you know what, that's a great idea, but I think that might take my metrics or my company into a different direction that we're not planning for. Or, hey, that's really good feedback. I think we need to implement it, but we need to implement it with these caveats based on what I know about my business. Focus your attention on the vital few things and not the trivial many. That's one of the things that I see people doing. They're not dominating their niche because they're trying to focus on doing too many different things all at once. Here in California, there's this restaurant, going back to the burger example, called In-N-Out. Well, some people love it, some people hate it. The truth of the matter is that when you go there, the reason why some people hate it is because they can't get a salad. They can't get a chicken sandwich. They can't get their ice cream with, certain types of cookies or, things to add on top. They are strictly burgers, fries, maybe some loaded fries, and milkshakes. That is it. They have been super successful because they have absolutely focused their time and attention on not only dominating their niche, but they focus on a few things and do it really well versus trying to do so many. And that's something that I see even in entrepreneurs or freelancers or startups, day to day, is like they're too busy doing trivial things versus focusing on the vital few. So again, point number 2 was dominate your niche. Point number 3, within this 5-star method to success and sustainability, is craft a winning pitch and a robust go-to-market strategy. Now, this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. Why? Because I think so much time, energy, and attention is put into creating a pitch deck. Well, that's great, but the pitch deck is only words and graphics on slides. I want you to be thinking about the actual pitch, not just the pitch deck, and about that robust go-to-market strategy. You'd be surprised how many companies I talk to in a day, in a week, that when I'm talking to them, they are pitching, sharing their slides. And then I ask simple questions like, so how are you going to go to market? Oh, what areas are you going to be selling to? Is the product going to be the same in every geolocation? Will there be variances in the product for different customer use cases? These are all things I want you thinking about, because you can have a dynamic pitch deck, but if you can't clearly articulate your go-to-market strategy, then it's kind of like being dead on arrival, because the go-to-market strategy is what fuels your revenue. The revenue is what fuels your profit. All of that is what fuels interest from investors and what makes people want to put their money, their time, their energy behind you to ensure that you're successful. So when we're talking about a winning pitch or a robust go-to-market strategy, what does that mean? Like we talked about earlier in point number 1, you have to obsess over the problem. But in that pitch, you want to be able to clearly and quickly articulate the problem, how you solve it, the potential impact of how you will solve it, but more so, why the heck the person on the other side of the table that you're pitching to cares. And when I say pitching to, I'm not just talking about investors. I'm not just talking about partners. I'm also talking about the people that you want to hire. I'm talking about the customers that you want to buy from you. You need to have so much conviction, but also prove that you have thought it all the way through. That is what you want to be able to do, to say, hey, this is how I'm going to solve your problem. This is how I'm going to change your world. This is how I'm going to add value to your space. But when you do that, you also want to be able to acknowledge headwinds. And when I say headwinds, sometimes that can be economic. Sometimes that can be within your industry. Sometimes that can be from a technology perspective. So what I'm saying here is, you don't have to lay it all out that, hey, this isn't going to work, or we're going to have issues going there, or doing this. But it is important when you're talking to your potential customer, when you're talking to potential investors, let them know that you have thought it all through. Acknowledge where there may be potential gaps or headwinds, and how you and your product are even going to be able to get around that. It's so important when you are building out your go-to-market strategy that you can say without a doubt, these are my customers. This is how I'm going to target them. This is why I want to target them. This is how it's going to fuel our growth. Then you want to also think about, are you selling direct? Are you selling through the channel? How will you leverage partners? How will you leverage resellers or distributors? Or how will you use influencers? These are all things you have to be thinking about when building a strong winning pitch and a robust go-to-market strategy. Remember, folks, this is one of the most crucial parts of your pitch, of your business. Whether you are a startup founder, whether you're an entrepreneur, whether you are a freelancer, you have to be able to pitch. You have to be able to say, this is how I add value to the overall go-to-market and the ecosystem. So that's point number 3. Point number 4 in this 5-star method to building a sustainable and successful startup is building and retaining high-performance teams. Now, I pause here because I hear so many founders say, Wayne, we are actually not struggling on the go-to-market strategy. We're not struggling on fundraising. We're struggling on hiring and retaining the best talent. It's a real thing. And I need you thinking as if you are the person looking for the job. It's so easy to get caught up in the mindset of I'm a founder and you're doing everything for the company to be successful. You have to put just as much time and attention into building and retaining strong teams. Oftentimes, when I'm looking at pitch decks, I see that a large amount of their money is being put into the tech and into the go-to-market strategy, both of which are incredibly important. But what I would love to see is people talking more about how they are going to put money into finding the best talent to take their company to the next level. Now, don't be confused. It is important that you delineate how that money is going to be spent, because most investors will look at your deck and say, well, gosh, you want to put 50% of the money that I'm going to give you into building a team? You then have to make it very clear to them that A, you're not trying to take all of the money as the founder, but also that you're going to invest those dollars to ensure that you have really competitive benefits, or that you can do really, really impactful team building activities, or how you're going to go use that money because you need the best AI engineer. So you're going to have to be able to invest into getting that person either from one of the bigger tech companies, or hiring a great AI expert who's willing to provide fractional support. Again, be thoughtful about how you really want to build your company culture. As you grow and as you scale, it's so important that you're thinking not just about right now while you are a 2-3 person company, but you want to be building the culture as you grow. And it starts with those 2 or 3 employees, because you better believe when you become a 50,000 person organization or more, it all starts around how you are functioning when you are a 2 to 3 person company. How do you treat people? How do you ensure that there's work-life balance? How do you enable people to make decisions quickly? How do you empower your team to really have creative freedom within the realms of and guidelines that you set? What are you doing to make sure that people feel like they're truly human and that they can be their best selves at work? What are you doing to show the marketplace that you're different inside of your company? Because they see it outside too. And then finally, I would say, build a culture that focuses on feedback. So often I talk to people, and what it's really about is they just want to be heard. Now, that pendulum swings both ways, and that's why I'm calling it out, that you have to focus on feedback. Recognizing that feedback isn't always exciting. It's not always positive feedback, but it's feedback nonetheless. Conversely, as a freelancer or as an entrepreneur or as a startup founder, you have to be willing to take the feedback as well. These things are really important, because when you have a communicative and a really transparent culture that is based on and built upon feedback, you will then see the openness happen. You will see the transparency. You will see that people are beginning to enjoy working with each other more. You will see that they feel that even when feedback isn't good, that they know it's in their best interest, or that you mean well. That is the type culture that you want. And in order to build and retain those high performance teams, you have to make sure that you're putting the money towards it, but then you also have to make sure that you're doing the things that don't cost money at all. And that is building a culture based around feedback, based around allowing people to bring their best selves to work, where they can really enjoy, but also remember the other simple things, like creating a culture where people are empowered, where they can make decisions, where they don't feel like they are constantly told no, or where they're constantly told that their ideas are bad or not welcomed. Focus on investing the time and energy, as well as the money, into building your high performance teams. Finally, once you get really strong talent, keep in mind that the same way you hired them from another organization, they can also leave yours. And that is why you really, really, really want to be thinking about how to retain them. So important, so important. And then finally, as we prepare to wrap up here, I want you to know that that fifth point in the 5-star method to building a successful and sustainable business is to build resilience in the marketplace. What does that mean? When I say build resilience in the marketplace, It means to do two things: to focus on what are the existing industries around your business, and then what are the local communities around your business, and then think about how you can invest into both. Let's unpack that for just a moment. When I say the existing industries around your business, what I mean is, so often I hear in the entrepreneurial space, in the startup ecosystem, oh, I'm trying to disrupt something. Oh, I'm trying to be disruptive. Well, that's great. We want your business to be disruptive. As an entrepreneur, you want to bring new and different value. But when we say disruption, it doesn't mean that you have to push certain industries to the side or that you want to flip them upside down. What it actually means is that we need to be thinking about how to drive meaningful growth and how to build resilience in certain industries by way of the value that you provide from your startup or as an entrepreneur. Case in point, I'm here in Los Angeles. We have the Port of LA. We have the Port of Long Beach. There are many port cities all around the continent of Africa. Well, the truth of the matter is that there are always going to be supply chain. There's always going to be boats and planes and buses and trucks that are moving goods and people and things of that sort. So instead of thinking about how do we disrupt it, because there are some companies that are out there disrupting the space, you also want to think about, as long as the space is here, how can I be a good contributor to the industries around my startup to where, hey, I'm not necessarily trying to take money from them or to shut down their businesses. Instead, I'm trying to figure out how my startup can be a part of their supplier pool. How can I help them find good talent? How can I be either downstream or upstream from them to, again, provide value, even if it's not your core business? Because when you do that, they will also typically do the same thing for you. Hey, these are small businesses around their big corporation or around their industry, and then they want to come alongside you and use you as a thought leader. They want to use you as someone to have at the table when they're making big decisions about their industry. And then guess what? You're then on the cutting edge. You have a seat at the table, and you are able to continually refine, iterate, and grow your business. And similarly, when I say build resilience in the other industries and in the communities around you, is make sure that you are giving back to the communities that have helped build your company. It's so easy to say, but so few people do it. And when I say that, I'm not saying that you have to go write a check or dump a bunch of money, but be present in the communities that matter. And remember that there is work that you can be doing without always delivering an invoice or getting paid for it. Work where people will see that, hey, this particular company, they care about this particular issue because they show up, they're present, they invest their time, talent, and resources into this space to ensure that this industry around your company or that the community around your company, they see that you are making investments. I say that as the fifth part because I think we so often get caught up in what are the things I have to do to pitch better, or what are the things I have to do to grow my business and make more money and go raise my next round. But if you truly obsess on the problem, if you dominate your niche, if you build that winning pitch and robust go-to-market strategy, if you build and retain high-performance teams, and if you truly build resilience by investing in the industries and communities around you, I promise you that you will not only be successful, but that you will also be sustainable. Because we don't want you just focusing on the right now. We want to see strong startups, founders, entrepreneurs, and freelancers today, tomorrow, and in the years ahead. Thank you so much to AfroBlocks and Tanguy again for inviting me to speak. It's been such an honor to be a part of the Freelancers Summit. And do know that you can always reach out to me, Wayne Kimball Jr. Take care, and thank you again.